Hey guys, Vulture75 here. So, as you are watching this video that I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna, do that, I want to let you know I'm sorry about the audio quality. I've been having an issue with my mic, but this is the last 2 weeks I am actually gonna record with this computer. So, yeah, I may not be able to record over the summer. I'm not sure. I will definitely be able to record on my phone. But yeah, I look forward to that. So yeah, I'm sorry about the audio quality. I will soon try to get it fixed, and I will see you all in the video. This is Vulture75, seeing you in the video. Let me tell you about the night my life changed forever. The night when I thought I was gonna die. The night I lost my sanity. It was a warm spring night, and I was 13 years old. My parents had gone on holiday over the weekend, leaving me home alone. I invited my two best friends, David and Arnold, to come over to keep me company. We were in my bedroom, listening to music. Arnold reached out and lowered the volume. "Hey, why don't we tell some scary stories?" he said. "I'm in the mood for a scare." "Sounds like a good idea," David agreed. "Who's gonna go first?" I have one," I volunteered. "But, I don't know if I should tell it." "Come on," said David. "Let's hear it." "Okay," I said. "It's a pretty terrible story I heard once. It all happened many years ago. There was a man who had a 7-year-old son. His wife had died giving birth to the boy. They lived way out in the countryside, and there was no neighbors for miles. They didn't even have a phone because at the time the lines didn't stretch that far. One day, the father came home from work, and he was horrified to find that his house was on fire. He immediately thought about his young son and rushed inside, calling the boy's name. When he heard his son answered, he realized the poor boy was trapped in his bedroom. The father ran to the door, tried to open it, but it would not budge. A beam had fallen from the bedroom ceiling and blocked the door. He banged and banged on the door with all his might, but it was too solid. He even rushed against it with his shoulder, trying to break it down, but it was no use. All the time he could hear his son screaming and screaming and screaming. The boy was in panic, screaming and crying out for help. The man kept trying to batter it down, but it was no matter what he did. It held firm. He shouted in rage. He wailed in despair. Yeah. He no longer thought about anything else, just the door and his son screaming on the other side. His son burned to death in that house. The father died too. He never managed to open the door, and he stayed there until the end, desperately trying to break it down until he succumbed to the smoke and the flames. Arnold looked at me in disgust and said, "That's not scary." "I have to admit it was pretty weak," David agreed. "It's more sad than scary." That's when I decided to tell them the last part of the story. I hadn't planned on telling them that part, but I got carried away trying to impress them. I was so stupid to continue. I should have never told them. "Wait, you don't know the rest of the story," I said. Ever since then, the father's ghost is still trying to open that door and save his son. And if you say, "Oh, well, I'd rather not say the exact words," but basically if you call for him and tell him everything is burning and ask for him to come and help you, his ghost will appear and take you away. David looked at me thoughtfully. "Have you ever tried it?" he asked. "No," I replied. "I'd be too scared to test it out." Arnold had a gleam in his eyes. "Hey, we should do it right now," he said. I tensed up. I had no desire to summon a ghost, and I was already sorry I had said anything about the legend. David smiled. "Yeah, why not?" he said. I was gonna tell them I didn't want to do it, but they didn't give me a chance. Arnold put on a trembling voice to intimidate or imitate the little boy, screaming, "Daddy! Daddy, help me! The flames are around me! I'm scared!" Arnold started screaming again, even louder this time. "I'm burning, Daddy! I'm burning! Help! Stop it, Arnold!" "It's not funny," I shouted. I didn't mean to. It just came out of me. I was really scared, and I didn't want I didn't want to hear him anymore. "What are you afraid of?" Arnold laughed. "Oh, come on. It's just a stupid story, that's all. Not even a good one." With a smirk, he continued, "Daddy, please help me. The fire is burning alive around me. Burning me alive. I'm..." All of a sudden, there was a loud knock on my bedroom door. Arnold stopped. Wait, okay. Arnold stopped mid-scream. We all froze. There was an eerie silence. We looked at each other. None of us made a sound. Boom, boom, boom. We almost jumped out of our skin. Boom, boom, boom. "What is that noise?" Arnold exclaimed. "What is that noise?" "If this is a joke, it's really not funny," said David. His face was white as a sheet. Banging on the door continued. Then we heard a man screaming. Those horrible cries will remain forever etched in my memory. I can still hear them now. Sounds like the cry of a dying animal. It was inhuman and infinitely sad. The banging against the door and that horrifying scream continued relentlessly. I was terrified and tried to hide behind the wardrobe. Arnold grabbed my chair and stood poised to strike anyone who entered the room. David curled up against the wall. Tears were streaming down his face. "No, no," he cried. "What is this? I'm scared." Immediately, the screaming outside the door grew even stronger, even more harrowing, even more terrifying. The banging on the door grew louder. I thought it was going to fly off its hinges. Then a panic scream seemed to overcome David. "I can't take it anymore," he wailed. "I gotta get out of here." With that, he ran to a window and opened it. "No," I cried, "don't." But before I had time to finish my sentence, he jumped out the window. I heard him fall. For a brief moment, everything was silent. Then I heard him cry out in pain. "Ah, I fell. I'm hurt. My back. I'm hurt." I ran to the window and looked out. David laying on the concrete downstairs, screaming in pain. The screaming coming from behind the door got even louder and more crazed. The banging increased. I was going crazy. It was relentless. It was all a relentless nightmare. And David screaming only added to the horror of the situation, especially since Arnold and I were too scared to leave the room to help him. Then I smelled something I hadn't noticed at first, but now the air in the room was filled with an awful stench. It was suffocating. The smell of burning flesh. It was unbearable. I turned my eyes away from the window and saw Arnold standing motionless in the middle of the room, his eyes wide, staring at the door as if in a trance. Then he bent over and vomited on the carpet. The banging and the screaming, the shouting, the stench of burning flesh, and the sight of Arnold spearing was all too much for me. I began to throw up as well. I leaned back against the wall as David continued to howl outside and the furious knocking on the door continued. Then I had an idea. Maybe David cries outside were attracting the man outside, so I closed the window. We sat on the floor with our hands over our ears, shaking in terror, as the clasmatic blows against the door continued, unabated, and the awful cries pierced our eardrums, and the burning stench mixed with the smell of our vomit. Gradually, the screams died down, the smell subsided, and the banging on the door grew weaker and weaker, until finally everything was silent. All we could hear were David's muffled cries in pain through the closed window. Arnold looked at me and asked me in a low voice, "What do we do now?" "Maybe we should call the police," I said, "or the fire department, or, I don't know, an ambulance to help David." "Where's your phone?" he asked. "Downstairs." It's quiet," I replied. "Do you think it's gone?" "Well, it's quiet," I replied hesitantly. "That's right," he said. "We'll have to go down." "Well, I'll go down anyway. It's gone, right?" "I guess so," I said. Arnold got up slowly and hesitantly walked to the door. He gently seized the handle and pushed the door open and peeked in the hallway. It was empty. Then, with a smirk on his face, he turned to me and said, "It was crazy. It's crazy. The door was open all this time. That stupid ghost." But he didn't have time to finish his sentence. In a flash, a hand came around the door and grabbed Arnold around the neck. He stood there petrified without screaming, his eyes wide in terror. Their arms were blackened and charred. I could smell the burning flesh. Before I had time to react, Arnold suddenly disappeared right before my eyes, dragged through a doorway, and whisked down the hall at an impossible speed. The door slammed shut with a deafening clatter. I got to my feet and ran to the door, but I didn't dare open it. I called Arnold's name again and again, but there was no response. I still couldn't bring myself to open the door. I was afraid that the charred man was still there. No one ever saw Arnold again after that night. My parents took me to a psychiatrist. I never told her anything or anyone else. Not even my parents. They would have never believed me anyway. David still did the same. He spent a month in the hospital. He broke his back in the fall. Even today, I still have a fear of opening doors. I'm terrified of what I might find on the other side.